Okay, and we're live.
Okay. Hi everyone. I'd like to say a big thank you to everyone who has joined us for this live stream. I'd like to say first of all, a big thank you to our amazing speakers who are going to be here today. And because it's not every day that you get to have GDEs or good developer experts come to your sessions and all this. And we are privileged as Angular Kenya to have you all here and also having this collaboration with this labs. So for those probably who don't know me, as you can see on your screens, my name is Wenka Kuo. I am the co-lead of Angular Kenya. At the same time, I'm also a front-end engineer. I do a lot of stuff with communities, and I've always loved communities. It's been always something that I've always been looking forward to, giving back to the community. And I think I remember there was a time I used to ask myself, what can I really do with communities? Like, how do I give back? And for me, I say like tech was the best place to be for me. And here we are. Yeah, it's a long story, but it's not about that today. I'd like to welcome uh, Tracy, who is going to be here with us today. We have Bonnie, and also we have Mark. And so, without much further ado, I'd like to hand it over to Tracy so that she can at least kick us off on what is hoping to be an amazing session. Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Thanks so much, Wayne. So nice to see everybody here. Excited to be doing Angular World Tour. Hi, Mark. You just got here, but I'm going to go first. And then, Mark, you should probably go second for the state of Angular related stuff. And yeah, let me go ahead and share my screen really quickly. Love seeing everybody in the chat. Hello. So good to see everybody today. All right, there we go. Yeah, feel free to go ahead and post questions in the chat as you see fit. We see everybody, and I can't pronounce all the names, but Kelvin, Sanjay, Piper, Kasaija, I think it is, or maybe it's Ronald, I don't know, but Vincente as well. Hello from the internet. Okay, so today I have a talk about open source, and I love this talk because honestly, I'm so happy to be at Angular Kenya. I feel like there's so many Twitter friends from Kenya, and I get a lot of applicants actually from Kenya, and it's so great because there's just like so much excitement and development happening in this area. So I'll take everybody else off the screen really quickly through this talk. But anyways, okay, so getting started today, I'm going to be talking about how to contribute. How to contribute to open source. This is a question I get a lot, and I know a lot of you are all interested in contributing to open source. And obviously, there are a ton of opportunities to be able to do so. And it's actually quite easy. So, after this presentation, I fully expect everybody listening to start contributing to Angular. Seriously, though. So everybody else feels the same way. Anyway, so this is a quick start guide. My name's Tracy. You can find me on Twitter at LadyLeet. I know a lot of you are on Twitter, but if you're not, go ahead and join Twitter and definitely follow me and the other folks on here as well. I'm the CEO of a company called This Labs. We are a 50% consultancy, and we do so much for the JavaScript community. I'm also on the ArcsJS core team at GDE for Angular, Microsoft MVP. I just became a GitHub star too, which is really exciting. And I do a lot of other fun things. So again, there's a lot of really amazing ways to get involved in the community. Going back to my full-time job at This we get to work on some really cool clients. So I really love the work we do, and we're also hiring. So if you like working on just front-end technologies in general, definitely email me, Tracy at This This is how I make friends. And, happy to chat anytime. So I'm going to give you a little idea of what we're going to go through today. Basically, going to be talking about my journey, talking about why you should contribute to open source, or why you want to, and then how, and then also some do's and don'ts to make sure that you're approaching things the right way. So my journey, I decided that I wanted to join a boot camp, like many, and I wanted to meet the JavaScript community. So I decided to start talking to people on Twitter and see who's going to Angular conferences, who's talking about Angular, what's going on. If you go on the internet now, you will see a lot of people like Bonnie and Mark and Wayne talking about Angular on Twitter, and maybe that's how you met them. It's amazing. And then what I decided to do after I found all these really cool, awesome people who did Angular was I decided to start sharing my coding journey. So at the time, I was like blogging a lot about Angular material, about the router, about the CLI, because these were all new technologies in the very beginning. And, it was my way of giving back as a beginner, right? Helping people how to, get started. And then I went ahead and met people. So meeting people was so important. So y'all who are joining now and saying hi, like Ruben and Rodwin, Cynthia and all these other folks, this is like, your first step of just showing up, right? Meeting maintainers, developing relationships. And you can do this online, you can do this at conferences, anywhere. And if you're just nice, the rest will come, right? And then the last thing was obviously contributing. And so, as I became friends with people, my, really good friends were on the ArcGIS core team and they needed some help and they need help with documentation. And I saw their struggles. So I said, okay, well, I can do this. This is easy. So I decided to gather up a docs team and just get jump started on the docs. And honestly, it started with creating like an empty GitHub repo with an Angular starter project in it. Like that's how the documentation started. So I'm telling you, it is very easy. All you have to do is get started and show up. Another thing is just talking about why, right? So a lot of people want to join open source and, is it functional or is it aspirational? So it might be functional if you're actually working on Angular and you need to fix something, like good to know Mark, maybe the CLI is broken or you need a new feature, maybe like becoming friends with Mark will help that a little bit. But anyways, it might be a functional reason. You need to fix something that's not working for you. Or maybe it's aspirational and you want to build a career in open source. This is also a really, really great way and reason to actually, join open source. So if it's functional and you're trying to get something done for work, always make sure you're giving before you ask. So if you are working on Angular at work and you're going to need something in the future, definitely like start contributing now, because getting to know people and contributing now is going to mean that when you want something later or when you need something later for work, people will actually listen because they already know you, right? So Rod, when you say you already stalk these people on Twitter and that's a good first step, but having those conversations and us getting to know Rodwin, maybe like Rodwin later on you want to start on RxJS or you need something fixed in RxJS. Well, since I know you already, I'll probably, be more willing to help you than, somebody random, right? There's a lot of noise on the internet. The other thing is, if you want to be contributing to open source, make sure to submit an issue first, ask for feedback, because, you don't want to just randomly, change something. Like maybe you're like, well, Angular CLI should be using Vite. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite everything and submit this big PR, right? It's probably not going to get merged. But that is why it's really important to submit an issue first to ask for feedback. The other thing is building relationships, right? Finding maintainers in other forums. Well, finding maintainers in other forums and building general relationships kind of go together, because you want to, again, like reach out to people, talk to people, whether it's Twitter, whether it's email, right? GitHub notifications and notifications on issues are unfortunately really noisy and it's really, really hard to follow them. I personally have them all filtered because I know if it's that important, somebody will tell me. Maybe some people don't have that luxury, but that's just how I operate. I just couldn't with all the reposts that I'm listening to. So, but if somebody pings me on Twitter and DMs me and says, hey, I submitted this issue and, can you look at it? I will probably be responding to them. So finding maintainers in other forums is really important. But also, again, even if you might need something, that whole idea of building genuine relationships is really important, because you don't want to, like nobody likes to know they're only being talked to for your own purposes, if that makes sense. So aspirational is also a really fun way to contribute to open source. This is so much more flexible because I think Number one is you can actually look at something, you're not tied to a specific framework, and you can ask yourself, hey, should I contribute to React? Should I contribute to Angular? Should I contribute to Angular materials? Should I contribute to NX, right? Should I contribute to Next.js? Should I contribute to Remix? You can just look at all the different technologies and things that you see out there and all the different teams you could potentially join, and you can actually ask yourself, do I even like this team? Can I be successful? And a very good way to do that is just by looking at the different comments, the um, RFCs, the PRs, and figuring out, hey, are these people that I like, right? And thankfully, in the Angular community, it's really hard not to like people because everybody is really nice here. The second thing you want to do, again, and I kind of mentioned this in the functional aspect of things, but solve problems that maintainers want, right? So again, you don't want to just randomly submit something. You want to kind of go look at the issues and everything like that. I actually just recently released uh, a series on our YouTube. And if you go to this.media's YouTube, it's called How to Contribute. And I sat down with Mark actually for How to Contribute to Angular, which will be released at some point in time. Just released the How to Contribute to Node. We have a How to Contribute to Redwood and Blitz and some other ones. But, this is a really great way to kind of understand how people want you to contribute and what opportunities are available. Because again, every team, right, like any team you join has kind of like a different idea. Another really important thing is just to help with the documentation. If you are using a technology and you are going through the docs, you will find issues. Very good to just help with the documentation. Everybody will be very, very, very happy. And then also, if you are trying to build a career in open source, making sure you're blogging about it. Even if it's, I made my first contribution to Angular and this is how I did it. And you write a document, a blog post about how you did the first thing, right? That is really cool. And that is really important. Or you could take something like, Mark gives a lot of updates on Angular, and you can take one of Mark's talks and you can be like, I heard this really cool talk that Mark gave, and here are some updates on Angular, right? And write that into a blog post. And that type of stuff, educating and sharing, is always helpful and always really wanted, and a really great way to contribute without having to write a line of code. So do's and don'ts as well. Make sure to have compassion. Make sure to treat maintainers like people. Be professional. Assume the best of intentions, and make sure to always be abiding by the code of conduct. Making sure, again, everybody is so busy, but nobody's ignoring you. Like sometimes I message Mark and he doesn't respond back to me, and I get really sad. Just kidding. But I'm not yelling at Mark and saying, oh my gosh, why aren't you responding to me? Right? Like, don't act or be entitled, because again, everybody's super busy and they're not doing it on purpose. Everybody has lives. Open source is something where it's kind of funny because you're doing it for free in a sense, or you might have a full-time job and you're still doing it on nights and weekends. So it's just a lot of work helping maintain open source, right? So don't think your maintainer's biggest priority a lot of the times, and definitely follow up. I mean, nobody's ignoring you on purpose, hopefully, but also don't complain, right? Like, make sure that you realize that everybody's trying their best in this world. So hopefully I helped you all a little bit. And again, you can always email me and chat. And if I don't email you, or you emailed me before, even if it was a year or two ago, you can always just email me again and come hang out and say hi. Like, it's really not a big deal. Sometimes I just forget. Sometimes I don't see the email. The worst thing is when I'm half asleep, like this morning, and I'm checking my email, and then I fall asleep while I'm checking my email. I don't know which email I accidentally marked as read. So again, assume best of intentions, but yeah, we are hiring. So feel free to email me or message me anytime. Hopefully you all learned something. And I really, really, again, love seeing so many amazing people on the internet joining today, and so much engagement um, on the chat. Thank you. And thanks for having me, Wayne.
Thank you, Tracy. I think it's amazing, like what these labs do, and having them actually come and like doing this Angular World Tour with us. It's amazing, because I remember when I saw it, I was like, we definitely need to have this here. I think at first I thought like it was physical, and I was like, oh, the COVID situation right now won't allow it. But anyway, we can still do with virtual. So thank you
Yes.
for doing this. Yeah.
Yeah, and anybody who is joining, maybe not from Angular Kenya, who's just joining us from the general internet, you can go to angularworldtour.com and request a city. So you can always email us and say, "Hey, I want you to come to our city," and we're happy to come.
Thank you.
And I just want to throw
Yes.
in there because I used to hang out with Tracy at conferences, but the first time I met Tracy, like I was just an attendee. I didn't know anybody. And I think she was already a speaker. So she was like basically famous. And I just went up to her and started talking to her. And she was so nice. Like she actually really is that nice. If you're just a stranger, you could just go up to her and say hi. And I was like,
Oh,
hello. Actually, I think I was saying, I want Ben Lesh. Can you get Ben Lesh to come and visit my meetup? And she was like, let me see what I can do. And I was like, okay, thanks. And then she said yes. And he said, I was so excited. I was like, oh my God. Thanks, Tracy.
no problem. Thank you for everything you do too.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'd like to shift it over to Mark. Mark, you ready?
Mark in the house.
Yeah, okay, so first let me know if you can hear me. That's the biggest question.
Barely.
Yeah.
Barely you can hear me. Okay, see, that is a little troublesome, but we're going to solve all those problems because I
Okay.
have ideas.
I feel like we should all lean forward a little.
Okay, how about now? Is that better?
Yes.
That should be, like, fine.
Still a little quiet. I mean, it's not like the
Yeah.
Mark that we're used to. Like, hey.
It's like a different mic that you're using or something.
Well, I am using a different mic, but that's because I'm trying to make this party start.
That's much
How's
better.
this?
That's
Yeah.
good.
Okay,
actually.
perfect, friends. See, that's what we needed to hear, to know what was happening. And now that we're in the building, we can just get this whole thing going. I'm super excited to be here. I'm going to start up my slides, and we're just going to get everything kicked off. All right. I have no idea what is going on. So, thank you for your patience. Seriously, friends, thank you so much for your patience.
And I think we also, just as Mark sets up, I think Mark is someone who suggested that, not actually suggested, was commenting that or asking what happened to your 2021 Google I/O Angular tutorial.
Oh, it is still there. It's not hosted on the Angular channel. It's actually on, I think, the Chrome developers channel. So that's where you can find it. But we can get some links out to the people. Once I'm done, I'll get some links and we can share those links. All right.
Sure.
So my screen is shared. Go ahead. Can someone add it to the stream for me? How's that? Can you see the magic?
Yep.
You're good.
Okay, friends. All right, this is exciting. I'm so pumped up to be here. First and foremost, I have to say big shout out to Angular Kenya for just being the community that you are. Thank you for just doing your part to continue to move Angular forward and being a part of the magic. We are so grateful for you. Thank you to Angular Nation. Thank you to this.labs. Just thanks. So I like to start off with thank you because when you express gratitude, it can really shift your perspective. And today, the perspective that I'm going to talk about is the state of Angular, friends. We're going to talk about the state of Angular. All right, so if you're at home watching right now, the first thing I need you to do, you see this hand right here? Get that left hand up and I got something for you. That's a high five from me to you. Thanks for being awesome. So my name is Mark Thompson. I am a Senior Developer Relations Engineer at Google, and I'm working on the Angular team. Before we talk about any more of the updates that I have, I want to share with you something about our core values on the Angular team. Okay, so here's what we really want to do. We want to create a platform that app developers love to use, so that way they can make apps that users love to use. And then here's my favorite part. We want to make sure that there's a community, a group of people, individuals coming together and making sure that everyone feels welcomed. All right, we want to make sure that everyone feels welcomed. And I always want to remind people that there is a place for you in the Angular community. there's so much work to be done in terms of moving Angular forward, and you have a place in that. So yeah, there's a place for you. And even for me, community is huge because, as you all know, a framework or technology is only as strong as the community that supports it. And when I think about the Angular community, you folks are just absolutely phenomenal. And be honest with you, I've always felt welcomed here. Even when I came in back in 2020, when I first joined the Angular community, I just felt so welcome. And then I saw how everyone embraced not only me, but other new members to the community. So let's talk about the Angular community just a bit. Some of the people that I want to call out, these are by no means everyone. This is not about order of importance. These are just some people that I do want to just put on your radar. Like, for instance, you had Eric Slack and the Angular Meetup, and then this really excellent podcast that's called the Angular Experience. I think it'll be really great to support that, because Eric is the type of person that, he'll put you on. If you want a chance to learn how to speak or do something, he'll definitely put you on and give you that shot, which is really, really important. Then we got someone like James Henry, who worked on Angular ESLint, that plugin, which is now, the linter that we use for Angular. And James just built that, on the spare time. And I've worked on side projects before, and I can tell you, those are really hard to finish, really hard to complete, and it's really cool that James and the team, who also contribute to Angular ESLint, made this happen. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't call out Tracy in this.labs. Tracy is a true Angular champion, and there are just so many frameworks that Tracy and the team at this.labs supports, but she doesn't play favorites, even though I do think that Angular is her favorite, and it might be because I'm here. Tracy's super cool, I'm super cool, but Tracy and this.labs, they do so many Angular events. There's State of Angular. This whole thing, the Angular World Tour, was an idea that Tracy came up with to continue to build up the Angular community. So this is the type of energy that I'm talking about. And speaking of energy, let's talk about Bonnie Brennan in the building. So I'm sharing the stage with these two incredible women today. And it is awesome to see how Angular Nation, when you talk about making sure everyone is welcomed, I have not seen a group that is so dedicated to that mission. Angular Nation has the hallway track where sometimes the team members from Angular go and hang out and just have a great conversation. We hang out with them after releases sometimes. Then there's the education aspect. There's always somebody being encouraged and supported whenever you hear about Angular Nation. And so I really have to give a huge shout out to Bonnie and the entire team who maintain that community. And listen, that's just a few people, but there are so many more people doing great things. And some of you are even watching this stream as part of this meetup. All right, friends. So if I didn't call you out, just know that I am thinking about you. We do care about you, and we do appreciate you. So let's talk about Google, and let's talk about Google in the context of Angular at Google. So how does the story play out, behind these walls? Well, we actually have thousands of engineers authoring Angular code monthly. Thousands of people are writing Angular code because Google, our commitment to Angular is solid, and we're doing some really cool things there. And then here's the other thing that I find to be mind-blowing. We train about 1,000 people a year on how to write Angular code internally. And I'm actually a part of that effort as well, of just helping with the training materials. And it's just incredible to see how many people that we get to train to continue to build up Angular inside of Google. So let's talk about some stats about how projects looked in Angular. So in 2020, we saw about 2,000 projects, and by 2021, there was more than 3,000 projects. So you can see that Angular's use inside of Google continues to grow as well. Now, Ivy, let's talk a little bit about Ivy at Google. So personally, for me, the Ivy story, since we're completely rolled out, I think you'll hear less about Ivy in general over time. But this is a really cool thing. As Ivy just was enabled at Google, we saw a reduction in computational resources of about 90%. And then for the biggest app that uses Angular at Google, we saw about a 50-minute savings in build time. 50-minute savings per build for the largest app that's using Angular. That's a really incredible stat, and we're able to do some really cool stuff with that. Now, let's talk about Angular outside of Google. Well, so I love this story because this story does what? Well, it's about you. It's about you, the Angular community, the Angular developers, all you Angular friends. So in the community, we've seen the adoption continue to grow. We saw in 2021, we were looking at some stats that showed that we grew from about 1.4 million weekly downloads to about 2.6 million weekly downloads on NPM. But the story continues on GitHub. Angular is used by about 1.8 million GitHub projects. Now, what's really interesting here is that none of these numbers take into account private repos, private repositories for NPM or GitHub, or anyone who's hosting projects on another source control management system, right? So we don't take in consideration any of those things, but these are just numbers that we grab from these public sources. So Angular is alive and well and doing some really great movement. A social media team and just our online presence has grown, as you folks have seen. Our Twitter has hit over 400,000 followers, and the YouTube, where a lot of you friends have seen me before, we crossed over 100,000 on YouTube. So keep watching our videos, keep engaging with the conversation online, because listen, we only grow because of you. All of this is because of you, the amazing Angular community. So here's something else. When we say that you, the Angular community, the value of the community, look at some of the other impact that you've had. So we've had more than seven or more RFCs, requests for comments, go out on GitHub. So when Tracy was talking about ways that you can contribute to open source, this is another way that you can contribute to Angular, because our RFC process allows the community to give feedback that we actually read. I know people say, oh, don't read the comments, right, when you're thinking about other things. But for us, we do read the comments, because we had over 276 comments from the community across these different RFCs to talk about changes that we planned on implementing. And guess what? Over 630,000 people got to see these. So lots of people saw them, lots of people commented. And then the Angular team, we looked at this feedback and then we started making changes accordingly. Isn't that phenomenal that you actually get a hand in the framework that you love to use for the users that you love to serve in this community where everyone feels welcome? So let's talk about some of the major releases. So first, let's talk about V13 that landed in November. So we launched in November, and we did some really cool things, like we had the removal of IE11. And while this sounds like, oh, we're removing something, oh no, well, look at the really cool things we got to do. Now, because of no longer supporting IE11, we also get to support all these great things like CSS variables, CSS grid, some native ECMAScript APIs, and web animations. Things like that are now enabled because we don't have to worry about all the excess bloat of polyfills to try to do this backwards with backwards compatibility to support IE11. So this is going to free us up to continue to streamline Angular and do some really cool things. Then we also updated the Angular package format, which really allows us to ship we ship partially compiled Angular, which is great. But here's the other thing: we can remove the UMD bundles, and then we can leverage the output of ES 2020. Right, so one of the things from the APF was that we would have to do an output with a different version of ES, like a different ES version. Now we can leverage more modern JavaScript on that. Really cool stuff. We also saw, because we updated our build pipeline to add ES build inside of there, we get 10% faster builds, right? So we replaced the build optimizer with the Babel transform, and then this just really helped to speed things up. Now, some additional features that you saw, we had Adobe font inlining, the Webpack 5 cache support, some dynamic validator control, which is really fun when you're working with forms. And then, of course, better accessibility, because everyone should have equal access to the internet, and the way that they use the internet, we should make sure that it's open for everybody. So accessibility is a big part of the Angular story, and it continues to be as we support it through our releases. And we saw that through the Angular material components. All right, let's talk about V13, which landed on December 9th, 13.1. So a lot of cool things. The animation packages got cleaned up. So thanks to Dario, community member, making some impact here. Ivy got cleaned up a bit. When we say clean up, we're meaning like streamlining APIs, removing code that's not unused code or code that's no longer relevant, things like that. Same thing for Ivy. We added TypeScript 4.5 support. TypeScript is amazing. So if you haven't taken the time to really dive into TypeScript itself, I totally recommend going to the TypeScript website and just spending some time looking at the handbook. It's pretty well written, and it just gives you a lot of really cool insights. And now we're supporting 4.5, which is keeping us pretty close to what is the latest for TypeScript. And then, of course, with every release, we're always patching bugs. We're trying to make small improvements here and there. And guess what? That's more of the same story for 13.2.0, which is going to land really soon. So this is coming in the future, but this is some things that are going out. All right, we're going to see more of the updates from Dario on the animations package cleanup. Real cool thing with forms is now that you can default the initial values for form controls. Really big request that we've seen people ask for. Now you can do it. Safe calling of functions and template expressions is really huge, where now you can use the question mark to safe call a function just in case, so your app doesn't just blow up, which is really cool. And then, like I said before, we're always patching up the holes and patching up the bugs, making it better, improving Angular so the community can have a better experience. Now that you know what we've been working on, what's already been released, so what are we going to do next? What's coming up after V13? Well, I'm so glad that you asked. I'm so glad. Because here's some of the upcoming improvements. We're working on some extended analysis. We're also working on the simplified factory API, some more advanced guides and documentation, and then we're going to be looking at some options with MDC Web. Okay. So for the extended template diagnostics, this is really cool. A big shout out to Doug on the Angular team. What we're going to be able to add is some more diagnostics in the template to give you some more helpful errors. For example, if you reverse your parentheses and brackets for banana in the box, I've done it before. I'm sure you've done it before. Well, now we'll be able to give you some support on that. So you'll be able to see in the editor, like, oh, no, did you really mean to do this? Super great. And then for the nullish coalescing operator, if something is non-nullable, because maybe null isn't, or undefined isn't in the type definition for that variable, now we'll be able to help you call that out to say, well, this thing can't actually be null. So you don't really need to use nullish coalescing there. Very interesting. Very interesting. Here's a big one. This is one of the most popular issues of all time for Angular, one of the biggest requests, most popular requests. Strict typing for forms. So the RFC is already out. So here's the URL. It's going to close soon. So go over there and review it. We even have instructions on how you can try it, but how you can have strict typing for your reactive forms in Angular. This is a big hit. People are really excited. So we would love for you to add your feedback. Head over there and have a look. Another thing that people have been asking about, developers often ask us, will there be a future of Angular where we could have optional ng modules? Well, now we are working hard on this. So if you have this template, this component definition, what we're working on is this idea that you can say standalone equals true, and then you can bootstrap this component without it requiring an ng module. So this is something that's in progress. We had a successful RFC where we got lots of helpful feedback. You can actually go check out that RFC and look at some of the proof of concept code and get some ideas on how this is working. All right, friends. Well, listen, that's all the updates that I have for you today. Shout out to everyone on the Angular team who's been working really hard on this stuff. Shout out to the Angular community. And I think the only thing that's left to do is for you to go and build great apps. Thank you so much.
And give yourself a high five.
Let's go. Get that hand up right now. Ready?
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you
really
very much.
a little stressed about following these two amazing speakers. Now, how am I supposed to, that's big shoes to fill.
No way. It's going to be amazing.
Oh, so you're going to be so great. Stop it. Stop it.
I just really, I love what you guys said about Angular Nation, because I feel like, to me, Angular Nation is like a brand new baby for me still. And I'm just so proud to see it growing. We went from 3,500 people to 3,600 people and then 3,700 people in just days. I think that's because Minko actually tweeted. Minko, I love Minko. Anyway, it's very exciting. And just to give you an idea, if this is the first you're hearing about Angular Nation, the reason I started Angular Nation is because, you guys, Angular is complicated, but it's powerful, right? There's so much that you can do with Angular. It's a bit intimidating sometimes because there's so much, but that's why they pay Angular developers so much, right? That's the way that I look at it. If I ever get confused, it's hey, that's why we make so much money. So I know there are a lot of people that are looking for Angular developers. And so it's something that if you really get good at it, then it's very good for finding a job. But the reason I started Angular was basically because there's a bunch of us that here's what I learned, right? The people who really know Angular actually write less code. And the people who are learning Angular as they go along, the thing is you can get your code working and all of your features and functionality work. But if you're learning as you go, what I saw in my travels was it would kind of get a little messy and slow, and you end up with performance problems. So training is really a thing. And really, just the camaraderie, because I met so many people that I loved at Angular conferences, like Tracy and Mark, and just so many fun people. But traveling for these conferences is expensive, and now with that was even before COVID. So I just really wanted a way to bring that camaraderie from the conferences to everyone who doesn't have the ability to be there, and that's really where Angular Nation was born. And listen, this is not what my talk is about. I'm going to show you real quick, but I want to talk to you guys about, I want to show you code. I didn't even bring slides today. We're going to code. And I'm just going to show you, there's a little bit of just my favorite Angular code that I think is really cool. And I'm just going to try to make it super simple. And also Alex Rickabaugh from the Angular team helped me with this little demo that I'm going to show you. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to share my screen real quick. And we'll stop by. I just want to show you this real quick. This is Angular Nation. This is my view of Angular. Like there's like people talking, even this is just while we've been here, there's a lot going on. We just opened registration for architect training today. We have a job fair this Saturday, by the way. Tracy, I've been meaning to send you an email, but I know you've been busy, but there is a job fair. If you guys are hiring Angular managers, we should talk. And then the other exciting thing I want to tell you guys about, because this is Angular Kenya, we have actually been trying to get Mr. Wayne to come and be one of the hosts of Angular Africa, because we have Wayne, you know, Val and Oye from Nigeria are the hosts of our Angular Africa channel, and they're so much fun. And we really want more representation from all of Africa, not just Nigeria. And so we were trying, but Wayne's busy, but we have not given up yet. We still want him to come and visit us and bring some, represent Kenya. Anyway, so that is a free channel that you can join. They meet, I think, every other Tuesday. Also, Oye. And I was excited. This is part of the reason why I love Angular Kenya, because a lot of people from Angular Nation have been coming and doing talks on Angular Kenya. We've had Oye, who you guys already met, who is the host of the new Angular Beginners channel, which is also free. There is a lot of free stuff happening on Angular Nate, free. So that's really cool. And even for the premium training, we always have full scholarships for every single premium training that we have. So you can go on Angular Nation and you can look in the featured section and find the link to the scholarship and fill it out. We actually do have scholarship students, and people get those scholarships. So anyway, so that's angularnation.net. It's free. You can go join. That's not even what I want to show you. I just want to show you a little sneak peek of the premium training. I want to show you. I just think it's really cool. Okay, so we're going to start. How much time do we have, Wayne? How are we doing?
I think we have about 20 minutes or so. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, we're going to start in version 12, and I'm going to show you a lot of stuff that's been there for a while. At the very end, I want to show you, this is like the big, the finale at the end of the show. I'm going to show you a brand new thing that you actually need version 13 to use. So that's like really cool. But I'm going to start out with some stuff that's been around for a while that a lot of people really don't use. And I think this is a shame. So actually, we're going to start even easier than that. Okay, so this is, I'm going to paste this Stack Blitz link to you. And if you could share that with everyone else in the chat, or Tracy or whoever's running, if you could. Okay, so I just want to show you this for a minute. Okay, so what we're doing is like a choose your own adventure thing. I don't know if you guys had choose your own adventure books back in the 80s, but basically it's like the RxJS thing, right? So what we want to do is we want to think about what we're doing with our code, and then this is I made this little thing, and it's going to help us decide which Angular option we're going to use, right? So we're going to start out with, and this is what Alex Rickabaugh showed me, which I thought was super helpful. These top options are what we're calling control flow. This helps you organize your code. And then down here, we're going to get into the dynamic rendering options. This down here, the bottom part, is really the cool part of Angular. And a lot of people don't use it, I think, because it's maybe intimidating, but it's not going to be after today. We're going to show you how easy it is. First, let's start up here. Okay, so if you want to show hide static content based on a variable, right? And I'm going to go so I can see the comments because I want you guys to go ahead and drop the answer in the chat if you know the answer, right? If you want to show or hide a static content based on a variable, do you guys know what that is? I'm going to give it a second. Okay, and this one's the easy one. Yes, Rodwin knows what I'm talking about. Choose Your Own Adventure books. We lived with those in the 80s. Okay, you guys, I'm assuming that you guys probably already know this, right? It's the ngIf. Show hide static content based on a variable, ngIf. Most of the Angular developers that I've found already know this. So we're, like I said, we're starting out easy. Just stay with me. Okay, so ngIf, right? Show hide static content based on a variable, ngIf, super easy. And then in the stack blitz is a working sample of all of these. And I know you know how ngIf works, but I just want to show you where it is. Remember, I'm using a little bit of Angular material here just to show the accordion, the show hide options. And so up at the top is, by the way, go into the dynamic component.html file. And this is just the accordion stuff. So what I did was I want you to scroll past that, right? Because that's not really what I want to show you. Look for where it says, yeah, this is our accordion panels. Look for where it says you found the templates. And this is really what you want to focus on down here, right? So the first one, and again, I know you guys know this, right? Or, I mean, not necessarily, not everybody does, but ngIf looks like this. So for each one that we're going to show, there's going to be an actual working code sample there, right? So that's, yeah, ngIf, right? Okay, so super easy. Feel free to drop questions in the chat, and I'm going to keep an eye on that as we go. But I'm going to keep moving. So ngIf, we know ngIf, right? ngIf is easy. If we want to show either of two, that's going to be ngIf else. Also super easy. Show this other thing, right? And ngIf just looks like this. You guys can see this okay? All right. So ngIf else is another one that I think most people know. However, I have to admit, I was using Angular for a while before I knew about the else. And when I found out about it, I was already a senior developer and I was super excited. So I just tried to put that in there. ngIf else. I think this is pretty easy so far. I think most people know this. Okay, so the next one will be to show one of a few available options. We've got one will be ngIf. Two will be ngIf else. If we have several, then the one that we want to use for that is the ng switch. And let's see. And that one's just going to say, different options. Let's see what that looks like. There's the syntax for it, the switch case. This one might be a little bit confusing because I actually put it in, I put it in an ng4. But again, I'm not going into too much detail about this, and I might be moving a little bit fast because most of the people that I find that are using Angular are already using these. This is the stuff that I think everybody's using, right? So if we go back here, the control flow options here, like this is really what I see 90% of the Angular developers using, right? And and I love it. I use it all the time. And I'm not saying not to use it. Absolutely, you should use it. But when you get into many options, this is where we say, no, let Angular do that work for you. Because what I find, and really one of the reasons why I quit enterprise consulting and went into training was because I found a lot of people that were using Angular, but they weren't using it to its full potential. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you're just using and ngIf and ng4 is great, right? But what I found was a lot of people hard coding a lot of HTML, or they would make like 6 different components that were almost identical, and it just made my eye twitch and I didn't like it. So I want to show you then, if you have a bunch of stuff going on and you want to dynamically manipulate the DOM on the fly, or you want to bring in something like live as it happens, pull a component out of thin air, that's what I'm going to show you now. Are you ready? Are you excited? Okay. Okay, so we've got the control flow options, right? NG if else, and the switch case. Now, when we go down here, right, this is the stuff that I don't see as many people using. And so I want to expand both of these first before we look at the code. Okay, so I want to, let me see a show of hands in the chat. Who is already using the view container ref? And if you're not using the view container ref, you're gonna love it. This is the time we're gonna start using the view container ref, and I want you to see because it's gonna be really cool. Okay, so if you want to show a template only, it would be the top one. If you want to show a component, which is the template plus the behavior, right? Then that's going to be a component. So the top two are template only. The bottom two are component. And there, for each one of these, there's an easy way and a scalable way. So we're going to start with the easy way for the template only. And by the way, you see the little D1, because I want you to be able to match this easily when we go into the code. So that's why these are the control flow, CF1, CF2, CF3. So we're going to look at D1 first, which is the NG template outlet, right? So what we're going to do, oh, hold on. Let me show you what it looks like first. Okay, so see this is template D1 for dynamic 1 shown with NG template outlet, right? And we're passing through a variable here. And again, we put this stack blitz. I'm encouraging you to plagiarize my code. I did this so that you could use it in your own work. So please feel free to do that. Okay, so let's go look at the NG template outlet, which is, there's the switch case. Okay, here is the NG template outlet, right? Now, what we're doing here, you see this tag right here. This is the NG template outlet here. This is from Angular. And so all I'm doing is just grabbing, I need a name there, right? And the context is what allows us to pass in a variable if we want to. So you see this NG template tag. And then what we need is we're going to go look for that template D1, which we put at the bottom of the page here. See how it has the NG template? And then you have this hashtag template D1 here, the anchor tag. So basically all Angular is doing is grabbing that template and putting it. I mean, we could copy paste it and just stick this up there. That's exactly what we'd be doing. So the only thing it's doing is taking the content from down below and sticking it here. That's it. Very easy. Why would we use something like this, right? Maybe if we had a switch case, and I actually do have another demo with a dynamic forms thing where I have a switch case that has multiple content inside of it, right? So this would be a way that we could organize our page a little bit. Maybe you have a bunch of templates and you want to pick one of them and you put them at the bottom of the page. So that's one option. So this is NG template outlet. And for me, I think that this is, I mean, it's not that much code, right? This is all you don't actually need the context unless you want to pass something through. And then when you use that context, you pass it through. Let me show you how you use that, right? So, because you've got the name attribute and you come down here and then you just put the name in here like that inside of, oh, no, not that one, this one, right? So that's how you're using your context. Okay, so that one is NG template outlet. So it's not much code. And I thought that was like, it took me forever to discover it. But I think it's really easy to use. So the next one, remember I said that's the easy way, right? Angular's doing all the work for you. This is the scalable way, the view container ref dot create embedded view. Now, remember, it gets kind of confusing when we get into all this stuff, but we're trying to make it less confusing. And I learned this from Samantha. The reason it's confusing is because all of this stuff kind of sounds similar. So that's why we try to focus on the differences between them, right? So we can tell the difference. So we've got the NG template outlet and NG component outlet. And that makes sense, right? The name makes sense once you kind of put it all into perspective. So the scalable way, we're going to do the exact same thing, but we're going to do it in the TypeScript instead of in the HTML, okay? So that view container ref create embedded view, remember, because I think the name NG template outlet and NG component outlet, that's pretty easy. So if you just remember that the view container, that this one does the same thing, right? We're going to go look at that code. Again, remember we took this template and we just inserted it, right? And that's all we're doing, but we're going to do it this time with a button instead. So where were we? We've got dynamic option 2. So it's this one, create embedded view, right? And now we've got that input value. So we've got an ng container here, right? And what we need to do is we need to, this is the way Alex Rickabaugh explained it to me. And I never, ever, ever can forget it. When you're dealing with the view container ref, I want you to picture a squirrel, right? And you're gonna put a squirrel on your page, but it's gonna run around everywhere like crazy, and you can't have that happening. So you need a cage to put the squirrel in, and the cage is your view container. That's the way Alex explained it to me, and I love it. And Samantha's going to make a 3D squirrel at some point. So you need to have a container to put it in, right? So you have your view container, and we're going to call it view container D2 just to make sure that we understand where it's going. Okay, so let's open up. We're just going to open it up to the side. I don't know if we can do that in Stack Blitz. Yeah, we can. I love Stack Blitz. Okay, close this. Okay, so we've got over here, right? We've got that button. You see the click on the button. Is it too big? Okay, create view, right? So we're going to go down and find that create view. I have lots of comments in my code always because I use it for teaching. So I hope that's helpful. Where is it? Oh, before we go down there, we need this first. Let me just move this over. Remember I said that we need a cage to put the squirrel in, right? And that's our view container ref. Oh, and also, okay, so see, we have a template ref. Let me close this. There's so much to tell you. I just get excited, you guys. Okay, so when we have that view child here, right? See how we have read template ref? You don't have to remember all this because it's in the comments. If we use read template ref, it's going to be a template that we can insert into a container. If we use read view container ref, it will be a container meant to hold a template, right? So we need both of them. We need our container and we need our template. And once we have those, then we just create a view like this from the, see, we have that view container ref up there, and then we just do dot create embedded view, and then we insert it. This is all, by the way, in the Angular docs. So if you want more details about this, you can go look at the Angular docs, but I just want to kind of give you all of the context together. Yes, Wayne, the ng container is the cage. Okay, so this is, remember, let's go back to this page. So we had the easy way, right? The easy way is ng template outlet. Angular is going to do the work for us. The scalable way is we're going to go and use the view container ref, create embedded view, and we're going to basically just put that template in there with create embedded view, right? And the benefit of this, by the way, because remember on this one, we said, hi, Sam, and we passed that variable through, right? We only have one. We can't, it's not really dynamic. But on this one, look, we can keep going. And we can do, we can pass that through on the fly, right? And we can see we got Rod went in there. We got Tracy in the house. Okay, I'm getting carried away, but you get the idea, right? And the reason why I said this is the easy way and this is the scalable way is because, and you might not worry about this if you're on a smaller project, but when you get into enterprise, it's very common to find, you know, massive applications and performance actually gets to be a very important thing. So if you have a small application, if you use the easy way, the ng template outlet, it's fine, right? It's going to be fine. It's going to be very, very, very fast. But if it gets massive, then you really want to use the scalable way if you're doing large apps. Okay, I think we're running out of time. Let me keep going. Okay, so that was the scalable way. Now, if we go down to the other one, we've got the ng component outlet, right? And or the easy way, the ng component outlet, and the scalable way is the again, the view container ref with create component. So you see how these are all similar. You've got the ng template outlet, the ng component outlet, and then the create embedded view and create component. So let's keep moving. If you guys have questions, just drop them in the chat. I'm watching the chat. I was talking about that. I know you see the squirrel from Alex. Like I will never forget that. Okay, so where are we at here? We have, let me go show you the HTML for the ng component outlet, which is the last one, right? This is the bottom one, the ng component outlet. Again, this is super easy code right here. This is all you need. Well, no, there's one thing that you need in here. You need this. You have to import it and declare it in the TypeScript. And then look, ng component outlet equals card component, put it there. Like, how easy could that be, right? I love that one. And I never used these because I just didn't learn them, because I just learned ngIf and ngFor, and I was just going crazy. Okay, so ng component outlet is so easy to use. You just need to remember, look, if you don't have this in here, it's not going to work. Well, anyway, I know you believe me. Okay, so you need that. Okay, so the next one, let's look at this one. Again, and it works a lot like the last one, right? We've got our container here. We've got the cage for our squirrel here. And then, oh, this is the embedded view that we already used. So, okay, so for this is actually kind of cool. When we bring in our component, so we've got the easy way here, right? Now for the last one, where is it? Okay, this was the one. Click create component. The thing that I love about this is, if you look at this, I didn't even know you could do this, y'all. And probably a lot of you do know this, but I didn't. I was excited when I found this. So you've got the async await here. We've got a lazy component that we're bringing in. And what I really was tickled about was that this lazy component that we're loading, we're not importing it anywhere. If you look even in the, you know what, I think it's kind of hard side by side. So I'm just going to close that and bring them over together. Okay, that was driving me a little crazy. I'm sorry. I'm never going to do that side by side again. Tell me, don't let me do that again. Okay, where were we? Oh, in the module. See this? This is the one that we're using. We don't even have to import it at all. We're just going to go to async await. So we have our lazy, we're going to import our lazy component, right? And then we're going to use the component factory resolver and then create a component, and that's it. So when we come over here, there's our, oh yeah, I forgot to show you that one. It's kind of boring. There's our lazy component. And you can, and this is the thing, right? When I said you don't want to hard code this stuff, because the beautiful thing, I mean, we're literally pulling a component out of thin air and showing it right there. And it's so cool. And by the way, I put the link to the docs for each one of these in the demo. Okay, so I just think it's so cool to be able to pull a component out of thin air. And this is where I have a lot of developers tell me, you know, we have to wait until we get this input or whatever, but you don't need to hard code all that because you can just do it on the fly. And I know we're running out of time. Wayne, do we have time real quick for me to show them the new version of this? Because we actually don't need this line anymore in version 13.
Okay.
Okay. I know we're at the top of the hour. I'm just going to show you real quick.
Sure.
And it's basically the exact same thing without the component factory resolver, which we no longer need. So I'm just super excited about that. And I'm also going to send you, yeah, it's okay. I'm going to send you the link for the version 13 Stack Blitz. By the way, Stack Blitz will, I believe, give you version 12 by default. And if you go into the package.json and update it manually, and then you there's a little refresh button here by the dependencies, then it will fire up Angular version 13. Sorry, it's taking so long. Because I said I was going to do it real quick, and now I got to wait. Let me see if I can get this new window open. I think it's slower when I'm live streaming. Okay, that's okay. I'm just going to go to the code because the demo looks exactly the same. And the HTML looks exactly the same. Everything looks exactly the same except this. Because now, because of Ivy, and I'm not going to go into that Mark would explain it better than I would anyway, but basically because of Ivy, we don't need the component factor resolver anymore. And this is the new code. So this is the working code. All of it works. So you can go and check out the syntax and play with it. And I hope that you find this useful. I hope that you had fun. And if you love this and you found this helpful, come and join me in architect training, which starts like next week. I believe we opened registration today. We had 10 spots. Now we have 8 spots left, and starts in a week. So that's my code. I hope you like it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bonnie. I think this is
You're
something that personally I've been seeing at work, and it's something that I'm always eager to learn about, because when it's all about try and see if you can use view container and all that, because I'm used to like the basic ngIf, ng4, ng switch, but this is definitely a game changer. Like, as even I was chatting with the rest on the chat, is that this is something that will make you always think about scalability. Immediately just start typing ng new, right? And
I felt like it was intimidating.
Yeah.
And I didn't ever want it to be intimidating. But the squirrel with the cage really helped me. The view container ref, like if you just always remember the squirrel with the cage, you need to put the cage there and put the squirrel there, and it doesn't really seem so complicated anymore. And Alex Rickabaugh, I just want to say, is one of the best people at taking really complicated things and making them simple. And I just really want to be more like that. And I also want to give a shout out to Samantha that helps me a lot with my training, because she makes me a much better teacher. So I hope this was helpful.
Yeah, it was. Thank you very much. And I'll definitely share the link for anyone who's interested in signing up for the training, right?
I would love that.
Yeah, and I'm going to also share it with the community members. So if anyone who's interested, they'll definitely sign up. And just a quick one. I remember when I reached out to Bonnie when I was looking for a job. I was like, "Hey, Bonnie, I have this number of years of experience," and like, "Oh yeah, you should actually talk to other organizers." And interestingly, I actually did, and that's where I got my job. I got my job from also an organizer in the Angular community, which was really amazing. And yeah, it's always great also being at Angular Nation. I did a session with Angular Africa, and it was about Angular with Firebase. And it was really awesome, because that was a technical it was a technical talk that I've always been interested in doing, because I've always loved working with Angular and Firebase, because it was so simple. The methods are just plain English, and it's been amazing. Yeah.
I remember being really upset that day because I was planning to attend and something came up and I couldn't. And I was like, but Wayne's going to be there. And I really wanted to, because I had been talking to you and I really liked you and I really wanted to be there. So I was bummed. But hopefully we'll see you back more. And just remember that we have been scheming, trying to figure out how to convince you to come and join us in Angular Africa, because we really want to have representation from all over the place. Yeah, Rodwood mentioned the job fair. The job fair is this Saturday. And we also have a pre-job fair workshop, which is basically the job fair without the hiring managers, where we let you practice your pitch on us and we like give you feedback and stuff. And it's very helpful. So yeah, we have really people hiring from all over the world. And somebody said something on Twitter about hiring for diversity does not mean that you don't get talent. And it really spoke to me, because I have met people from all over the world, literally. And I have been highly impressed with some of the people that I've met. Some of the students, I've had some scholarship students that came in and I was like, man, I would totally hire them. So I just really love having these opportunities to meet more people from all over the world. And that's one of the reasons why we give away so many scholarships and sliding scale discounts and stuff like that. Because I've met some amazing people who are young and just starting out and didn't have any money. I didn't have any money when I was just starting out. So, we try to make room for them.
Yeah, and
thank you so much for having. This was so much fun, you guys.
Thank you.
I got to hang out with Mark and Tracy.
Yeah.
And Wayne.
and so how do people get to join Angular Nation if they're interested?
Oh, just sign up. Just you go to angularnation.net, put in your email address. There are actually humans that have to, like, every time we see somebody requested to join and we hit the button. There's like 6 of us that will send you, like, we try to hit the button as fast as we can. Sometimes if we're asleep, you might have to wait. But yeah, you just need an email. It's free.
Okay. All right.
And once you get there, find the Angular Africa channel.
Hmm.
Well, there's a lot of community channels that are free, but
yeah. But thank you. Thank you very much, Bonnie. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Tracy, for this. Thank you for coming to talk to us. It's always a pleasure to have you all join us for this. And thank you to everyone who tuned in for the session. Remember also at Angular Kenya, we have something called Angular Kenya Office Hours, where we have mentors who have volunteered to dedicate their time to give you guys like probably help if you need assistance in like building projects, or if it's something that you have a bug that has been persistent for quite some time. We have this Angular Kenya Office Hours, and we have about I think 5 mentors right now. So if you're interested in having sessions with them, please DM Angular Kenya on Twitter, and I will definitely set you up with one of the mentors. And apart from that, any last words from Mark, Bonnie, or Tracy?
Yeah, I just want to say one thing is that first, thank you for having us. And second, we have a lot of great things coming up for Angular this year, especially around Angular content. So please check us out on YouTube and follow us on Twitter so that way you can be in the know.
I love the new Twitter stuff that you've been doing. I really think that you and Emma brought so much fun to the Angular team. Like, I love the Angular team before, but I didn't know it could be fun. And I just love that. You guys just crack me up.
Well, you ain't seen nothing yet, Bonnie, because great things are ahead.
I'm for it.
We're definitely looking forward to it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Bonnie, any last words?
Tracy turned her camera off, but I just want to say that I was really happy to see Tracy again. I love you, Tracy. And we need baby put. I haven't been keeping up with Twitter, so I haven't seen a picture of your baby, but I'm just so happy for you, and I want to congratulate you. And
Thank you.
I want to be just like you someday.
Thank you, Tracy.
This
Any
was
last
fun.
words?
Nope, I think we're all set. So I'll end the broadcast and see you all soon.
All right. See you
Bye,
guys.
everybody.
Bye.